Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiraya. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we first offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Lord Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, supermost human being, Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed to practically nil, and thus loving service unto the glorious Lord who is praised with transcendental hymns becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 3, text number 17. Ayor Harati Vaipumsam Ayor Harati Vaipumsam Ajan Astam Cha Yan Asal Ujanastam Cha Janasal Tashate Yat Shano Nita Nita N-I-T-A
Nita, well, we can remember.
Nita, yeah. Tashate Yat Shano Nita.
Tashate Yat Shano Nita. Just don't tell Madhu Priya.
Uttama Sloka Vartaya Uttama Sloka Vartaya Ayor Harati Vaipumsam Ajanastam Chayanasam Tashate Yat Shano Nita Uttama Sloka Vartaya Ayor Harati Vaipumsam Ajanastam Chayanasam Tashate Yat Shano Nita Uttama Sloka Vartaya Ayor Harati Vaipumsam Ajanastam Chayanastam Tashate Yat Shano Nita Uttama Sloka Vartaya
Ayor Harati Vaipumsam Ujjanashtam Chayan Asau Tasharte Yat Shano Nita Uttama Shloka Vartaya
Ayor Harati Vaipumsam Udyanastam Chayanasam Tashate Yat Shano Nita Uttama Shloka Vartaya
Ayur Harati Vaipumsam Ayurveda Pumsam Udyanastam Chayamsam Tasyate Nita Uttama Shlokavartaya
Ayurarati Vaipumsam
Ayurveda Vaipumsam
Dhyanastam Chayodasam
Udyanastam Chayamsam Tasyate Yachano Nita Uttama Shlokavartaya Ayurveda Vaipumsam Ujjamastam Chayavasa Tasyate Yachano Nita Uttama Shlokavartaya
Ayur. Duration of life.
Duration of life.
Harati.
Harati.
Decreases. By. Certainly. Humsam. Of the people.
Of the people.
Ujan. Rising. Astam. Setting. Cha. Also. Yan. Moving. Asa. The sun. Tasha. Of one who glorifies the Lord. Rite. Except. Yat. By whom? Shana. Tam. Nita. Utilize. Uttama Sloka. The all good personality of Godhead.
The all good personality of Godhead.
Vataya. And the topics of. Okay, Srila Prabhupada's translation. Please repeat. Both by rising and by setting.
Both by rising and by setting.
The sun decreases the duration of life.
The sun decreases the duration of life.
Of everyone.
Of everyone.
Except one.
Except one.
Who utilizes the time.
Who utilizes the time.
By discussing topics.
By discussing topics.
Of the all good personality of Godhead.
The all good personality of Godhead.
And
That's
Srila
a
Prabhu.
verse, isn't it? That's a famous verse.
Yeah. Spoken by Saunaka Rishi, who speaks a good portion of this chapter. Okay, Srila Prabhupada's Divine Purport. This verse indirectly confirms the greater importance of utilizing the human form of life to realize our lost relationship with the Supreme Lord by acceleration of devotional service. Time and tide wait for no man. So the time indicated by the sunrise and the sunset will be uselessly wasted if such time is not properly utilized by realizing identification of spiritual values. Even a fraction of the duration of life wasted cannot be compensated by any amount of gold. Human life is simply awarded to a living entity, Jiva, so that he can realize his spiritual identity and his permanent source of happiness. A living being, especially the human being, is seeking happiness because happiness is the natural situation of the living entity. But he is vainly seeking happiness in the material atmosphere, A living being is constitutionally a spiritual spark of the complete whole, and his happiness can be perfectly perceived in spiritual activities. The Lord is the complete spirit whole, and his name, form, quality, pastimes, entourage, and personality are all identical with him. Once a person comes into contact with any one of the above-mentioned energies of the Lord through the proper channel of devotional service, the door to perfection is immediately opened. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 40, the Lord has explained such contact in the following words: endeavors in devotional service are never baffled, nor is there failure. A slight beginning of such activities is sufficient even to deliver a person from the great ocean of material fears. Unquote. Is a highly potent drug injected intravenously, acts at once on the whole body. The transcendental topics of the Lord injected through the ear of the pure devotee, probably meant to say by the pure devotee of the Lord, can act very efficiently. Oral realization of the transcendental messages implies total realization. Just as fructification of one part of the tree implies fructification of all other parts. This realization for a moment in the association of pure devotees like Sukadeva Goswami prepares one's complete life for eternity. And thus, the sun fails to rob the pure devotee of his duration of life, inasmuch as he is constantly busy in the devotional service of the Lord, purifying his existence. Death is a symptom of the material infection of the living entity. Only due to material infection is the eternal living entity subjected to the law of birth, death, old age, and disease. The materialistic way of pious activities, like charity, is recommended in the Smriti Shastras, is quoted by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Money given in charity to a suitable person is guaranteed bank balance in the next life. Such charity is recommended to be given to a Brahmana. If the money is given in charity to a non-Brahmana without Brahminical qualification, the money is returned in the next life in the same proportion. If it is given in charity to a half-educated Brahmana, even then money is returned double. If the money is given in charity to a learned and fully qualified Brahmin, the money is returned 100 and 1,000 times. And if the money is given to a Veda Paraga, or one who has factually realized the path of the Vedas, it is returned by unlimited multiplication. The ultimate end in Vedic knowledge is realization of the personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. It's stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Vedaischa Saraveraham Eva Veja. There is a guarantee of monies being returned if given in charity, regardless of the proportion. Similarly, a moment passed in the association of a pure devotee by hearing and chanting the transcendental messages of the Lord is a perfect guarantee for eternal life, for returning home back to Godhead. Mad dharma gatva puna janmana vidyate. And somebody looked that up in the Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada is not going to quote it. I'm just assuming it may be in the Gita. That's Mad Dhamma. Mad Dhamma.
What chapter?
Maybe it's that chapter 10 where Arjuna tells him that you are the supreme abode, you are Mad Dhamma gatva puna janmana vidyate. Last two sentences in the purport. In other words, a devotee of the Lord is guaranteed eternal life. A devotee's old age or disease in the present life is but an impetus to such guaranteed eternal life. So we can take that to the bank, that our old age and disease in the present life is but an impetus to the guarantee of eternal life, because it is described in this very important sloka. Somehow I got the privilege to read. Both the rising and by setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone, except one who utilizes his time by discussing topics of the all-good personality of Godhead. So the Vaishnava doesn't die, but he dies to live, and while living, he spreads the holy name around, says Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So the devotee's duration, it isn't decreased because his duration is ultimately eternal. The devotee is just taking off these old clothes, or casting off this old body, no matter how old it may be or how diseased it may be. It's being taken off, discarded, and the devotee is stepping into his transcendental form in relationship to Krishna. That's only for the devotee. If the living entity, if we, the living entity, desire life in this material world, then, unfortunately, we have to remain within this cycle of birth and death, old age and disease. Srila Prabhupada is making a point in the purport that now that we have this human life, we can easily get out. We can bring an end to this cycle we've been rotating in forever. We can now get out and assume our eternal identity. But if we don't do that, or we fail to do that, or we don't want to do that, then there's 8,400,000 different species of life that Krishna will accommodate us with. And, they're quite satisfying for one who's into this mentality, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. The bears can sleep a whole winter away, just snoring. And, tigers can eat without any indigestion, practically speaking, because of their bodies are such a machine for swallowing and digesting and eliminating very quickly. And the procreating, Krishna gives so many different forms, from the great Prajapati Daksha, to all sorts of living creatures, like apsaras, who can, enjoy their sexuality far beyond the imagination of a human being. And what to speak of other mammals like monkeys, gorillas, horses. So Krishna, he provides. And eating, sleeping, mating, and also defending. We see in the celestial world, Indra, he's very capable of defending the celestial abode. And there are many demons. In fact, somewhere we were recently reading that if one wants victory over their enemy, and some verses back, if someone wants victory over their enemy, they should worship the demons. Because the demons possess all sorts of potency for defense and attacking. Just like we see our political states, they invest so much of the money earned through taxation. Billions and billions of dollars is spent on national defense. And national defense means that one is quite capable of attacking the enemy. What is the defense system? That you just keep them from coming in? No, it means ultimately you're attacking them, and wherever they're vulnerable, and hurting them. So, we're quite aware of what goes on just within our own society when it comes to defense. And and animals also, very capable of defending themselves with claws and teeth and sometimes even hairs on their bodies, like porcupines. Turtles have provided very strong shells. And some of them, when they have a bite, you can't get that bite to release. It's said that it's very difficult to open the jaws of an alligator.
There's that lizard. It's a Gila monster. It never lets go.
Yeah, so animals are quite capable of defending also. So Krishna provides, but we human beings meant to be more intelligent. We have to see that despite all this capacity of sense gratification, that it's such an obvious, but it takes a sort of transcendental intelligence that not only is it obvious, but one is motivated to take the opportunity for release from having to continuously revolve. They'll express so much doubts about revolving. Well, nobody knows what happens at the time of death. But we can see that everything's growing old and dying, growing old and dying. And that everything is rejuvenated. We see every spring things are rejuvenated and they go on to die. So much of the plant life and insect life. Animals are constantly bearing new progeny, every spring or whatever their particular cycle is. So we see that life is constantly revolving in front of us, but yet the hardcore materialist, simply because of some attachment to sense gratification, cannot accept the obvious and will not work for a release from these miseries. There's no one else practically propagating any sort of relief from the cycle of birth and death. Hardly anyone. And the only one are religious authorities, spiritual authorities. And, they each have their source of knowledge put into book form. And it always generally states that one should fix their mind and intelligence upon the Supreme Lord. Our Vedas, our Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita is so potent because there's so much elaborate explanation in the form of pastimes and description of the qualities of the Lord and talk about his wonderful entourage and the different types of paraphernalia he possesses and they possess. That the mind is completely absorbed, like people's minds are absorbed going to these movies, and we create fictional movies to entertain people, to take away to pull their emotions from their heart, practically speaking, and absorb them. So that's what they're thinking about, practically speaking, for days and weeks and months. So similarly, if we realize that this is not fictional, this is absolute, and we absorb our mind Then the beautiful thing is that Krishna himself is assuring everyone in the Bhagavad Gita that endeavors in devotional service are never baffled, nor is there ever failure, slight beginning of such activities is sufficient to deliver a person from the great ocean of material fears. And we hear many, many quotes just about the potency of the name of the Lord. Because all these pastimes, forms, or expansions of the Lord, their qualities, etc., are all described by unlimited transcendental sound vibration, names, that are identical with Him. That may be hard to grasp, but we can simply take it as axiomatic fact that the sound vibrations describing the Lord are none different from the Lord. What that means is auspiciousness. That means one who has the opportunity to hear such sound. Auspiciousness is destined in that person's life. That person can become free from the ignominies or the difficulties of this material existence. Doesn't mean that they all are going to be given a bunch of money, or they're going to be given a fancy home or property. It doesn't mean anything material. It means everything spiritual. That the relationship with that sound vibration has begun, and that sound vibration is none different than the personification of the personality of Godhead. So their relationship with God is on the verge of being reestablished. And of course, when that becomes established even a little bit, then Krishna will always protect his devotee, and there's some famous verses in the Gita to support that also, as well as the Bhagavatam. The Gita and the Bhagavatam are the essence of all the Vedic knowledge. It's the most potent and beautiful literatures of that culture. And Lord Chaitanya, he loved them, beyond our capacity to understand. And Lord Chaitanya's biographers have also given equally potent descriptions of his eternal dharma of loving Krishna. So rising and setting of the sun, it's certainly taken away everyone's life. We can rest assured that this material world has its duration, and we don't have to worry about it keeping us bound forever. That Krishna is quite sufficient to take us out of this place. It's no problem for Krishna. We hear pastime after pastime, Krishna delivering devotees. Krishna will deliver all of his devotees. That's his pastime. He takes that something like a duty. That he always protects his devotees. He even breaks his word to protect his devotees, as he did in the battle of Kurukshetra with Arjuna and Bhishma. Krishna will even break his perfect word. People may criticize him. He doesn't care. And more important to him is to protect his devotee. So, people, they're always looking for these political alliances, and people in human society especially, but also demon society, demigod society, Gandharva society, they tend to think in political terms. So that means they're always seeing, who is their ally or friend, and who is their enemy at this time. And they attack their enemy when they get a chance. And they whine and dine their friends, for support. So, that type of consciousness in relationship to Krishna doesn't really buy into. He has, when he appears, he has unlimited people willing to do that. But that's material consciousness. What Krishna is interested in is the actual spontaneous love of the living entity. And that is different than simply making friends with Krishna for some sort of material reason. And for the fool who unfortunately makes Krishna his enemy, that's just no better described than using the word foolish. But the devotee is never thinking of Krishna like that. Kamsa may, but not the devotee. The devotee is just thinking of Krishna is his Lord, is his dearmost friend, is his protector, is his source, is his life. And the devotee never wants to desert that relationship for anything. That's most important. To the extent that we're all familiar here, that we desire to please Lord Chaitanya by taking away his anxiety, his pain, seeing suffering souls, conditioned souls who are completely immersed in this world. The non-devotees, they say the word uses the non-devotees. The Lord is concerned about the non-devotees because the devotees, they'll be all right, but the non-devotees, they won't be. So the Lord is concerned about that. So the devotees, we all develop a ambition, so to speak, or a desire to satisfy the Lord's desire to somehow ever save the non-devotees. So that's why we bother to go out and chant. That's why we bother to distribute prasadam, distribute books, hold programs, somehow ever meet somebody who somehow ever tells us about their problems, and we can somehow ever give them a little Krishna consciousness as much as it appears that they can possibly handle. But that's the beginning. So that, that's like our International Society for Krishna Consciousness pastime. We don't have any other reason for being. That's our main reason for being. I guess the other reason being that we're trying to take care of the devotees that have taken shelter of the society, whether they be Brahmins, Vaishyas, Sudras, or whatever. If they're taking shelter of the society, then we try to take care of them. And generally speaking, we're ministering to people. People, they have their place somewhere in society, and what they need is some connection to Krishna. So the devotee tries to help that person to make that relationship solid, so that they can be, we use the word self-sustainable. We're all trying to get our electricity self-sustainable, our eating self-sustainable, our food self-sustainable. Well, we need our relationship with God self-sustainable, so that we're not always going to pieces every time, we're not around a great devotee or some devotee that gives us that inspiration. We need to help people become self-sustaining in their relationship with Krishna. Generally speaking, that means, a person has spent some time going through a rigorous routine of training. That's always emphasized by Srila Prabhupada, training. Why not train from the very beginning of life? But whenever we come to Krishna consciousness, it generally means that now we engage in some training, but that training is meant to make us strong so that we can live and take care of ourselves in Krishna consciousness, and also become a part of that network of helping others to become Krishna. We expect devotees to advance so they can help others to become Krishna conscious, and not always be needful in that regard, in one sense. We're all needful in that regard, but we need to come to a point of where we are we're self-sustained enough that we can sustain ourselves, and at the same time sustain others and help others. That's ultimately what a Brahmin is meant to do, whether that Brahmin be a hidden or a person acting in some sort of administrative capacity or Vaishya capacity or Sudra capacity. The pure devotees are all pure devotees. And, they can help others, whatever their position is. Like, Troopa tells me about our god brother, Chaturratna, in Gainesville. He was, in Alachua. He was the temple president there. He was the temple president in St. Louis. Real dynamic devotee from the old Radha Damodar days, big book distributor, and tattooed up with all sorts of Krishna tattoos. But he needs to earn some money to support a family. So he was working at Home Depot, but he was such a dynamic person, due to his Krishna consciousness, that people always would listen to him. Customers, ever employees, so he was always surrounded by people as he guided them, whatever their needs were in the Home Depot. But he also did that in Krishna consciousness. He was like a really good person to perform jagas. He really absorbs people in the purpose of the jaga and what's going on, and people become very involved in chanting the mantras. He's just that type of person who has attained some sustainability in Krishna consciousness, and he's simply watering everybody else's kripa. So that's good when we come to a point like that. We all may not be as dynamic as the other preacher or the next preacher or this minister, this Brahmin, that devotee, this pure devotee. But we all have our capacities to receive the nectar of Krishna consciousness and to dissipate that nectar of Krishna consciousness. So, and for such a person, the rising and setting of the sun doesn't matter. We're just on our way back home to God. Just like we see Jayapataka Maharaj. He keeps going through all these health crises. Now they've healed cancer on his head, and he's got that down. So it's like throughout his life, it's like one thing after another. But he just keeps rolling on. Disseminating Krishna consciousness and enlivening people in Krishna consciousness. Not materially. It's not like he's passing out money. He's just giving out Krishna consciousness. So we all have our capacity, and the rising and the setting of the sun does not decrease that, but it actually only increases that up until the end of life, so-called life for the devotee, end of this material life, where we cast aside, like Narada Muni cast aside his mortal frame and stepped into the position of the sage of the demigods, able to travel throughout the material and spiritual worlds. So similarly for the devotee, we're just stepping out, so to speak, stepping out of this, utilizing this body, but in the end we're stepping out of it and we're stepping into wherever Krishna is sending us. The devotee is only eager, to meet his Lord and serve his Lord and to take up that pastime that Krishna is going to engage us in. All right, so I need to stop. I need to run off somewhere. Is there anybody want to add something to that before we close out for the day?
Well, when did he get cancer?
It's just some skin cancer on the head, just like you had the one taken off right here.
Yeah.
He had some things on the head. I probably got it on my head, my head. You don't see it like perfectly clear, but there's always these blotches, from having spent so much time in the sun, So, I'll probably die first before that kills me, we're all going to die, so I don't have a lot of medical facility until you collapse or something. People drag you in, they try to revive you and help you. But sometimes, all the time we get something that the pain is so bad it forces us in. That's why I had to take Marani to the hospital. Pain got so bad, that I couldn't help her. She had to go into the emergency room. And it was just a urinary tract infection, but what that means is next is the kidneys. And what that means is next, they're going to fade out and you die. So
there's a stage in between dialysis.
Well, you have to be hooked up to the machine.
Right, but when you have an infection, if the infection can kill you quicker before, that being hooked to the machine means that the kidneys are no longer purifying the blood. So it's not a matter of that, they work, but there's an infection killing them. So if you don't kill the infection, you die. So urine, can go from yeast infection to urinary tract infection. And a lot of times with old people, it comes from, when you have a bowel movement. And if it's not clean right away, if it's not cleaned properly, but all it takes is a little bit of that stool. It's a little bit more difficult in men because of their organs. But for a lady, they're very close, those two parts of the body. And if the little stool gets there, then germs can immediately run up the urinary tract. Urinary tract infection.
A lot of old people die from urinary tract infections. A lot of old people.
My friend Vijay Mohanty in Baton Rouge, his mother's been bedridden for 2 years and she's constantly getting them, and all the doctors can tell him that this is not a high-tech thing. She has to be cleaned right, and she has to be cleaned as soon as there's the bowel movement. Cannot let the stool touch the urinary tract. And so that's what my Ronnie had. They just put her on an antibiotic and painkiller. Okay, Srila Prabhupada.